Hello, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic, and happy birthday, Alchemist, who turns, I don't know what age today. I thought for a second it was 30, but it's the 30th. That's why I thought that, and that doesn't mean Alchemist is 30. It means it's his birthday. And this is Alchemist's favourite puzzle that they've created, and has been given some very kind words by no less than Rocky Ruhr and the Pie Guy and Chaos Sudoku's Please, who have all said this is good. Now, I will say I read the first 3 sentences of the rules, and if you thought the rules were hard to understand yesterday, and some people clearly did, good luck to us all today. I do recommend that if you find the rules hard to understand sometimes, stay with the video until the bit where I explain them, because some of the comments we get suggest that they haven't looked at that and they just couldn't understand them and they're irritated. Well, and the things that they didn't understand were things I explained. So I don't get why you wouldn't watch the bit. There are chapter headings, to tell you when I explain the rules. I would watch that bit of the video if you're ever unsure of the rules anyway. Right. That is enough of a lecture to you. I didn't mean to be doing that. What I did mean to be letting you know was coming in 2 days' time is a new Sudoku hunt on our Patreon channel. And we'd love you to join us and have a go at that. There are 9 puzzles themed on playing cards this time. And we'd love it if you interacted with us. The winner of last month's Sudoku hunt was announced, I think, by Simon yesterday. It was Maddie. And she's definitely going to try and make a collaboration video with Simon, which is the reward. Fantastic. So get yourself in that position as well by having a go at August's Sudoku hunt. Now, there is other stuff on Patreon too. There are cryptic crosswords, difficult ones like Saber's Listener. There are gridogram and connections videos as well. And the solutions to last month's Detective Pet Sudoku hunt, which is the one that Maddie won, they're all up for the tier 1.5 and above subscribers. So you can see solution videos for all of those extra videos. Now, it's not as if we don't give you a lot of content. On the main channel, we're doing 2 Sudoku videos a day, Minute Cryptic, Wordle in a Minute. We're doing a Cryptic Masterclass on Fridays. We're doing streaming on Mondays. We were in the Artisans of Glimmith game last Monday, probably somewhere different next Monday. Do just join us and interact with the glory that is Cracking the Cryptic. And you could get yourself some merch as well and wear Cracking the Cryptic. And you could also get one of our extremely good value apps, or maybe one of the worms, which are in that suite as well. So check the links under the video. The first link, however, is to this puzzle. It's called Pop Goes the World by Alchemist, clearly themed on Pop Goes the Weasel. And I'm about to read the rules and try and explain them. However, I do note that the first 2 sentences, or the 2 sentences after the first one, have confused me. Here we go. Normal Sudoku rules apply. I'm okay so far. That means the digits 1 to 9 will go in every row, every column, and every 3x3 box. It then says, place 1 trigger cell in each row, column, and 3x3 box. So they might be in these positions, for instance, just randomly selected and got one wrong. There we go. Each of these trigger cells is a popped cell. Now, that doesn't help me because I've never heard of a trigger cell and I've never heard of a popped cell, but hopefully that will all get explained by the following sentences. All cells orthogonally adjacent to a popped cell also pop if they have a smaller digit than any of the adjacent popped cell or cells. And we continue until no more cells pop. So let's say this was a trigger cell with a number 4 in it. And then we had 3 and 1 there, 2 and 1 there. And these other digits were higher digits. It's quite possible that this would happen. I've no idea. And that 4 would then, that would be the trigger because it's so designated. It would pop that cell and that would pop that cell. This 4 would pop that cell and that would pop that cell. And then we would have continued until no more cells popped. And these would be the popped cells caused by that trigger 4. I'm assuming this would be a bigger number as well, like a 9, because that otherwise would pop. And this one was a 6, say, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just imagining this because the other thing that I've read is the next sentence, which says bubbles, and their circles, are never in cells which are popped. That's why I was avoiding these being popped. And they count the number of up to 8, so that would be an impossible bubble, surrounding cells which are popped. So this, let's get rid of these numbers that I've put in. This cell is counting the number of these cells that are popped, and that's the number in it. This one is just counting from up to 3. Then there's one more rule about these pinpricks. Oh, I see. This is about pinpricks. Trigger cells, popped cells, bubbles, and pinpricks. That's why pop goes the world. Anyway, the inequality points, as it were, so the sharp end of the V is pointing to the smaller end of the 2 digits they separate. And always separate a cell which has been popped from a cell which hasn't. So this will be one of each. Those are the rules of this peculiar puzzle. I don't know how it works at all, and I barely know what I think that stuff means, but we'll work it out as we go. And you can try the same. Now we've heard the rules on the first link. Let's get cracking. I haven't got a clue how to get cracking. So, okay, we were told that the circles are never in cells which are popped. So let's colour those grey for the non-popped colour. So there's a start. I mean, it's not much. Now, you may have to just sit and think and watch me while I try and come up with a way of starting, because I haven't got any idea. Oh, well, okay. One place to start in Minesweeper circle puzzles, where we are counting the number of surrounding cells, is these corners, which only have, and 3 of them are circles today, they only have up to 3 cells to count. So these digits have to be 1, 2, or 3, each of them. And obviously in row 9, those 2 can't be the same, and in column 9, those 2 can't be the same. So there is some variety. I was about to say, how can any of these be a 1? Because wouldn't it be sitting next to a higher digit on at least one side? And yes, it would be, but now I've worked out that that digit might not have been popped. So I don't know where that leaves me. I guess the rule about the trigger cell means that in each box and row and column, there is at least one cell that has been popped because it's the trigger cell. So I can't expect to have a huge area of grey allowing nothing to have been popped. And I mean, I suppose these circles are counting the coloured cells, the non-grey cells around them. So there wouldn't be any great swathes of grey because they can't have 0 in. I mean, obviously these perimeter cells are only counting up to 5, unlike the interior cells, which could be counting up to 8. Oh, what about the pinpricks, the inequality symbols? They are one popped cell and one non-popped cell. Oh, well, there's an inequality relationship between those cells. Oh, that's interesting. That feels very counterintuitive. So the higher cell cannot be the popped cell because it would pop the lower cell and then they'd both be popped. And we're told that one is popped and one is not popped. So the lower cell is the popped cell. What color am I using for that? Green, I think. And then the higher cell is the gray cell. Now this circle can't be counting 3 because it's counting the greens. and there's only a maximum of 2. Now, if that was a 2, this would be green, but it wouldn't have popped this, so it would be 1. And then this would have to be 3. Ah, here's why that doesn't work. Yes. Right. I'm going to show it to you graphically by putting the digits in. If that was a 2, that's counting the greens here. So this would be green. Then for this not to have popped that cell, this would have to be a 1. That would make this a 3 in the corner. Now, don't celebrate because this is hypothetical and wrong, in fact. I don't know if that 3 is wrong, but it's going to prove us wrong. That 3 would count all of those as green. And what would this digit be? It can't be 1, 2, or 3, so it's bigger than 3, and it's going to make the 3 green. So that situation can't be allowed to happen. And the way to prevent it is to stop this corner being a 2. The corner is a 1, and this cell is grey. And that must be right. Now, this digit is not a 1. And that's quite interesting in its own right. This digit it could now be a 3. If they're all green, this digit has to be now lower than the 3 to not infect it and would be a 2. Could this be a 2? Oh, I tell you what, I don't know whether it's a 2 or a 3, but I think I know that this digit is 1. That's really weird. Right, if this digit is a 2, it's counting 2 greens around it, but they can't be contiguous and larger than 2. So it would count 1 green around it that was a 1 here, and another green here. If it was a 3, these would all be green, but they're not allowed to be higher or they'd infect it. So we'd get a green 2 here and a green 1 here. And either way round, we always end up with a green 1 here. I think we always end up with this being green as well, because if that's 2, these 2 are both green, and if that's 3, all 3 of these are green. So there we go. That is also correct and done. And this can't be a 1, and that can't be a 1 now. And now we've got a 2, 3 pair in this column. And that digit, therefore, must be 4 or 5. And that means that quite a lot of these cells are green, 4 or 5 of them. I mean, this is progress. It feels, nothing about this puzzle feels natural. It just doesn't sink into my brain and stick as something I can work with. But we are right so far. Okay, let's go up to this one, because if that was a 2 now, we might be able to put a green 1 here, I'm thinking. If that was a 2, 2 of these cells would be green, and one of them would have to touch this cell and be lower, and that would be a 1 here. If it's a 3, all of these cells are green, and the one, it can't be a 3, because it would have to be touched by green 1 and 2. That would be a 2, and 3 and 2 would be looking at that cell. So this is a 2. This is a 3 in the corner down here, and now we can celebrate it because it's right. That's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight. Not getting triggered. That is green because we can now count these. That 2 cannot possibly see a green cell here because it couldn't be 1, 2, or 3. It would be higher and it would trigger that. So that's grey. These 2 are green to make the count work, and that digit is a 1 so it doesn't infect the 2. Wow. I mean, this is so complicated, it's extraordinary. But this is right so far. This digit, again, now it's not 1 or 2. This is at least 3. And that means at least 3 of these. That's quite interesting, actually. If it was a 3, these 2 cells could not be green, because to be a green and not infect that 3, they would have to be 1 and 2. Yeah, there's something going on here. What is going on here? If this is a 3, those can't be green, so all of those will be. If it's a 4, one of these can be green 3. No, grey 3. No, green 3. If that's a 4, only one of these can be green, because it will have to be a 3. And that will make all of these 3 green. If that's a 5, then all of these are green anyway. So these are always green. And depending on whether that's a 3 and these are both grey, that's a 4 and one of these is green 3 and one of them is grey, or whether that's a 5 and these are green 3 and 4, it doesn't matter. These are all green now, which is absolutely freakish, but there we go. What is freakish is that I'm able to discover that. That's weird. Now, can I do the same here, actually, with these? Are these all green for the same reason? If that was a 4, this couldn't possibly be green, or it would be a bigger digit than 1, 2, 3, and 4 and infect that. So these would all be green. If it was a 5, they'd all be green anyway. So yes, those are green. Wow. I mean, I'm 10 minutes in. I feel like I have done something now. I don't know whether it's really any use, but I'm gradually beginning to understand Pop Goes the World, or the world of Pop Goes the World. I haven't got anywhere near understanding how to find a trigger cell. I've just got somewhere near how to keep circles not infected. So this is less than that, otherwise it would infect it. So it's 2 or 4. Green touching grey is the interesting one. So that is less than this. So 1, 2, 3, or 4. That is less than this. So it's 2. So this digit is 4 and this is 5. Here we go. And that means this is green by counting the 5. And it must not infect the 5. So that's a 4. Good grief. These are 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, once we get down to 4 candidates, I'm prepared to write them in. Now, this is counting up to these 7 cells of green. So that is 6 or 7. This one is counting at least 1, 2, 3. It's going to get one more minimum here from that 6 or 7 colouring at least one of these green. So that's a minimum of 4. It can't be a 4 by Sudoku. Its maximum is 7, which is these cells. So this digit is 5, 6, or 7. Wow, if I could rule out 5, that would be another 6, 7, 8, 9 quad. This would be a 1, 2 pair. That would be 3, 4, 5. Oh my goodness, I'd be in business. I bet I can't rule out 5 because I bet this is going to end up being 5. There is now definitely a 2 in one of these 2 cells by Sudoku, and a 1 actually in one of them. They are a 2, 1 pair. And that means 3 and 4 are here somewhere. I don't know how to use that information. I'm sure this is going to prove to be a 5, so I'm not going to spend time working out why it can't be a 5, because I think it will be. But this is 6 or 7, and any green cells that touch this have to be lower. Oh, I was going to say this digit can't be lower. No, it can't be lower. That's cool. If this was a 7, oh no, then it could. then it would be a 6 here in green. If that's a 6, this won't be able to be green. Oh, so we've got the same situation again. These are all green because either this is a 6 and this is higher and can't be green, and then we need them all to be green to make up the count to 6, or this is a 7 and those are all green anyway. So these are all green. It does not come naturally. Now, now I don't necessarily believe this is going to be a 5 anymore. We've now got these 5 of green already, and we could get 1 or 2 more here, but green is going to have to be lower than this digit. If it was a 5, these 2 cells would both be lower than 5. And this one would have to be a 3 because it sees 1, 2, 4. Okay, if that was a 6, this digit would be a 7. This won't work. This can't be a 6. I don't even think this digit... No, this digit can be a 7 as long as that's lower. That would be green, so it would have to be lower. If that's a 7, that's a 6. Otherwise, this is a 6. So one of these 2 is always a 6, and that means none of these cells can be 6. Now this is 5 or 7. These 2 are the same color as each other, and I don't know what color that is. But this 5 or 7 is not infected by this cell, which can't be 1, 2, or 4. So it's 3, 5, or 6. Or this cell, which is 1, 2, 3, 5, or 6. This is also lower than this 6 or 7. Yeah, so a green touching a grey has to be lower. That's the relationship that I really have to get on with. This digit is not 1, 2, 3, or 4. This is at least a 5. So let's say 5, 6, or 7, because it's touching 2 greys, both of which have to be higher. This one's in a blooming circle. This can't be 9 because you can't put 9 in a circle. The maximum we can get to in this circle is 7. So that is 6 or 7, and this is lower because it's touching it and it's green. And now here we go again. Surely I'm going to be able to say something about all of these being green in a moment, or something like that. If this was a 7, all of these would be green for the count. If it was a 6, if it was a 6, that one would have to be grey because it will be a bigger number, and then all of these will be green. So all of these 4 are green anyway, whichever way round that goes. This puzzle's mad. It's absolutely mad. Now, this, we can almost count its greens. 5 plus maybe 1 more. That is 5 or 6. This one is counting 2 already and up to 3 more. This one, I don't know, 1. Yeah, that's not so useful. Wow, it's bonkers. This digit has to be lower than both of those. This has to be lower than that 5 or 6, and it's not 1 or 2. So it's 3, 4, or 5. This digit, it's so going to be lower than this one. For this digit not to be lower than this is 1, this is... No. Yes, for it not to be lower than this. So if this is grey, I don't know. I'm losing track of what I've understood. That's a shame because I thought I'd almost grasped what was going on. Now it turns out I haven't. I hope I haven't made errors. There's every chance. I hope I haven't. That is lower than these two. If that's a 7, this is green, but it has to be lower. That would have to be a 6. You'd have 7, 6, 5. At least we're doing something. Come on. You know, if the next step's obvious, I'm sorry. It just isn't to me. I don't know how we do the next step. I've loved the steps we've done. They're very clever. Oh, I haven't done anything about trigger cells. I don't know how we're ever going to find those. Look at this number. This is 6, 7, or 8, 9. That's got to pop things. Right, how could this be grey and not popped? It would be a 2, and both of those would be 1s. And these two are either both grey or both green. Maybe I should have worked on this. For this to be a 7, that's a 6 in green. That's a 5, and both of these are grey. Wow, and that's then where we get this would have to be 2. That would be 1. 7, 6, 5, 2, 1 would all be mandated here. I just don't know. I mean, maybe I should be working on this a bit more. This is 5 or 6. Oh, I don't know. Greys touching greens have to be higher. They're like fortress cells. I mean, how did that happen? That's so weird. That's part of the rules of the puzzle. Yeah, but we have to populate the puzzle with greys and greens based on triggering and infecting and everything. It's not quite the same as a fortress puzzle, but it is an intriguingly similar idea. Now, there must be something wrong with either both of these being green or both of them being grey. If they were both grey, they would be the unaffected cells. This would be a 2 touching 1s. This would probably be a very high digit like a 9. No, I just don't know. Maybe I can take the theories I've had so far and work on the other grey cells somehow, but there's so little filled in about them. If this digit was, I mean, it's counting up to 7. If it was 2, it would have to be surrounded. Well, none of these digits can be a 1 by Sudoku. They'd all be effectively grey, but that's fine. If it's a 2, we're only colouring 2 green around it. No, there's no difficulty with that at all. Yeah, they're no good to me. This digit appears somewhere in these cells. If it's 7, it can be there. Otherwise, it's 8 or 9. Well, it could also be 7, 8, or 9 and appear in one of these two. I'd love to know more about this and whether it's 3, 4, or 5. At least I've got the corners. It's not too bad. Four, 4. Don't really get the infection picture at all. So let's work on this. If this digit was a 6, then that's grey. That's a 5, and that's a 5. If this digit was 6, these would both be smaller. They would have to be 5 and 3, and this cell couldn't be filled. So that's not 6, that's a 7, and this is green. And it has to be smaller than that 7, and therefore it's 6. This is now not 6 or 7, and these are not 6. That 6 is now looking at this cell and making it 5, which makes this grey. The 5 count is here. These can't be 5s. This one, oh, this looks impossible. No, it's not impossible, of course. Nothing has really changed there. This has to be bigger than this cell, which is touching it and is green. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4 quad now, where the 1 is in one of these cells. That's interesting. This is smaller than this. This is smaller than this. That could still allow 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, how many is this counting? 2, 3, or 4? Uninteresting information. I don't know anything about this one. That can't be a 5 by Sudoku. Oh, this is a 5 by Sudoku. And in this column then, that can't be 5. Is that all? One, that can't be 7. These include 6 and 7 now in this box, and that digit becomes a 5, and these two become grey. And then I know this has to be a 2 touched by 1s in green. There we go. This now can't be a 1, and this is the 1 in my 1, 2, 3, 4 triple. And the 2 is in one of those cells. This has to be lower than that, so I could have taken a 4 out of there before I hadn't seen it. This digit is counting those two at least. It doesn't tell me anything. Oh, hang on, yes. If it was a 2, that would be, it would be grey. If it was a 3, that digit would be a 4, and that would be a 2. And this couldn't be green because it couldn't be 1, 2, 3, or 4. So that would be the third green if this was a 3. If it was a 2, they would both be grey by the count. And if it's a 4, they're both green. Now, if it's a 4 and that's a 3 and these are both green, this digit would have to be a 2. Yeah, this can't be a 4. This can't be a 4 because that would count all of these as green. This digit would have to be lower than 4. And it couldn't be 3, it would have to be 2, but we've already had a 2, 3, 4 triple in this box. So this is a 2, 3 pair, that digit is a 4. This is now definitely lower. Oh, these can't have a 1 in or a 5 in now by rule. That's by Sudoku, not by rule, by Sudoku rule. That 2, 3 pair is going to leave a 6, 7, 8, 9 quad. Now, for that to be, well, for that to be a 2, these are both grey. For it to be a 3, this one's still grey because it can't be lower. This has to be grey because if it was green, it would turn that grey. That's the simple way of looking at it that I keep forgetting in my insistence that the way to do this is by looking at the comparison of greens and greys. It's not the only way to do it at all. I mean, I can see this digit is quite low, weirdly. Because if I tried to put a 6 in here, that would be higher. These would all be from 7, 8, 9, but there's 4 of them. So that's no good. So this can't be 6, 7, 8, or 9. It can't be 1 or 2. It is 3, 4, or 5. And it is lower than surrounding grey cells, which is unsurprising. Well, it makes this at least a 4, and the most it can be now is a 5, because we're counting the greys. That is 4 or 5. And that means lots of these are green. Maybe not all of them, though. That has to be higher than this cell because it's green. So that's 3 or 4. This can't be 6 because that 5 needs lower cells on both sides. So that's 3 and that's 2. Ah, this can't be 2. There's a 6 in one of these, 6, 8, 9. And that digit has to be lower than this one. Green must be lower than touching grey. It's basically an infection rule. And that's now an 8, 9 pair. So this digit is a 6. Okay, come on, let's keep going. 2 there sees this digit. That's 3, that's 2. That means this is grey. My count is complete on that. That is the same as that by Sudoku. It's not very interesting. I still haven't decided if this is 6 or 7. Has that become more available? If it's 7, that has to be green 6. Oh no, look, I've got a 3 in this column. That makes this a 6, and that makes this a 7, and now this is green 6. That is exactly what I was havering for. So we've got a 6 in one of these 2 cells by Sudoku. This grey cell is counting a maximum of 7, and it's not 6 or 1. This one, I suppose a maximum of 8, as implausible as that is. But this one is a maximum of 7, and it's not 1 or 6. So there are a few possibilities, I'll admit. This has to be lower, though, because it's green touching grey. So we can't have 2 there. This is lower than 7, and it's not 1 or 6. So this is 2, 3, 4, or 5. Yeah, these circles are helpful cells. I just need to work out how they're helping me. That can't be a 3. That can't be a 4. One of these is 8 or 9. I don't know what to do with that information. Well, this couldn't be 8 or 9 green, or it would infect that. In fact, this 4, oh yes. This 4 is saying that one of these is green and is smaller. Well, that's a 3 here. Oh, that's been available, hasn't it? That makes this a 4. That makes this cell the 8 or 9 that we were looking for. And that sees an 8, 9 pair in the row. Wow. I mean, it's weird how it comes together gradually. It is weird. That's a 1 by Sudoku. Is 1 always green? I don't dare say it is, because I just don't know enough about the puzzle dynamics to say that. These digits in this column are 7, 8, and 9. Green next to grey has to be lower every time. That's the rule. So this is 7 or 8. This is 8 or 9. That's now a pair in the row, and this digit is 7. And now this can't be 7, and now this can't be 5, because this has to be lower again. 8, 9, 7, 6, 1. These are from 2, 3, 4, 5. That can't be as low as that. This is from 2, 3, 4, 5, and is starting to form the basis of a quad. Goodness me. 1, 2, 1, 2. That is a 2 by Sudoku. So that is not a 2. This has to be smaller than the cells on both sides. So it's a 3. And these are a 4, 5 pair. This is a circle. We said earlier we can't put 9 in a circle. That is 8, and everything surrounding it is green. And this digit is 9, and this one is 8, and this one is 9. And I like to get the chance to do some Sudoku in my Sudoku puzzle. So that's a 4, 5 pair. This is a 7, 6 pair. This is a 2, 8, 9 triple. Now, what about this column? A 4, 5 pair. That digit is 3. This is a high digit, 6, 7, 8, or 9. Now, we're here, aren't we? This is counting 4 or 5 of these cells. And what about this? It's already counted 4. If that was a 5, oh, that could be green, and it's not trying to touch it. Interesting, though. If 2 was in one of those cells, it would have to... No, if 2 was there, it would have to go green. It would get infected by the 3. Oh, I mean, I could easily have made some hideous mistake, and it could be ages ago. I'm just going to soldier on, hoping I haven't, and trying to work out how I believe the puzzle works from here. I've never been so unsure about how a puzzle's mechanics as I am at the moment with this. How are these boxes completely empty of any clues, in fact? Boxes 1 and 4 just don't have a pinprick or a bubble or anything. I mean, I know we've got to find the trigger cells at some point, but... that 4 has counted those, so this is grey. Yeah, this is quite interesting. If I can say that this is grey, then the trigger cell in this box is going to have to be one of those two. The trigger cell is always a popped cell, so it's always green. This can't be grey because it's sitting next to a 9. That's fair, isn't it? Yeah, I think it is. The 9 would have infected it. That's if I'm understanding the rule right. Three, 8, 2, 1. That can't be an 8 in the column. This digit sees 4 and 5 in the row. 3, 1, 2, 8. It would be very... I mean, is this the last... No, I've got 2 more circles still to fill in. 4 or 5 in each case. Anything touching it has to be lower. So this must be grey, otherwise it would have infected that. Now it's 4 and maybe one of these two. Well, it couldn't be a green 8, 9 here. Just don't know how to solve. So confused with this puzzle. Alchemist, you are a bit of a wizard. It has to be said. Right, there's a 1 in one of those cells. There's a 3 in one of these. There's a 2 somewhere in the top row here as well. I'm certainly beginning to get the impression that finding the trigger cells is the absolute last. Despite the way the rules are worded, place one trigger cell in each row, column, and 3x3 box is the start of the rules, as though you could do it at the start. You definitely can't. I mean, I suppose if there's one in each box, this 9 has to be the trigger. Okay, well, this might be interesting. If that 8 was the trigger cell, it would trigger 6 and 2, but it would not trigger 9. And it couldn't have been triggered from another box because that would have had to come through 3, 4. Okay, that's interesting. So I think this 9 must be the trigger cell in box 9. Because nothing else would trigger the 9 itself. It's that. The 9 wouldn't get triggered unless it was a trigger. Is that the same for every 9 in the puzzle? It blooming is, isn't it? It doesn't get triggered unless it itself is the trigger. Every green 9 in the puzzle, that is true for. Oh, it's so strange. Oh, that 9, by the way, makes this digit an 8. I had not seen that. That gives me a 7-9 pair, and this is an 8, and that's a 9. And there we are. There's a green 9. That must be red. It must be the trigger cell. Otherwise, it wouldn't have gone green. Nothing could make it green that wasn't a 9. Same is true here. Right, these are some of the trigger cells. Loads of these trigger cells are going to be 9s. Now these two can't be trigger cells, but the trigger cell always has to be green, so it must be there. I was going to say, and it must be 9, but this is a case where it absolutely doesn't have to be 9 in this situation, because that could be 9 in grey. But it is the trigger cell in this box. Now one of these two is a trigger cell. And I mean, it's very easy to say it must be here so the 3 gets triggered, but that just doesn't cut any mustard at all. If this was the trigger cell, it could trigger that, which could trigger that, and the 3 could get triggered from this side. So I must be careful not to talk absolute bobbins all the way through. At least I'm finding trigger cells now. It's a bit embarrassing not to have had that revelation about thinking about trigger cells before. But anyway, these digits are from 2, 4, 6, 7. What are we going to do with the numbering in boxes 1 and 4? It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense that we can be expected to work it out, is what I mean by that. One of these is a trigger cell. I bet you it's a green 9, but who knows where it goes. Well, okay. I mean, if it's a green 9, it certainly doesn't go here, because it would make this cell green, and there'd be 6 greens around this. Okay, for this can't be. This is not the trigger cell, so it's been triggered. It's been popped, I should be using the right word, by this cell, so that must be green. That is now 5 for this circle to score, so this is grey. And now this has to be bigger than the cells on both sides, so that can't be 2, and this one can't be 9. And the trigger is in one of these two. The trigger can't have been a 2 triggering a 3. That wouldn't work. So this is an 8, and that's a 9, and this is a 2. And the 8 must be a trigger, because the 2 can't be the trigger. Oh, okay, I'd better be careful about that. That could be wrong. The 2 could be a trigger if that was a 9 triggering the 8 there. Oh, that's bonkers. That could well happen, so I've got to be careful. This digit's a 4 now. That's just Sudoku. Now this can't be 2 or 4. This can't be 2. And now we're beginning to look into boxes 1 and 4 from all sorts of angles. That can't be 9. This can't be 8. Okay, how would this get triggered if it was 5? That 9 would trigger this cell, which would be a 4. And it could trigger all the way round to the 1, but it wouldn't even get to the 2. I just haven't thought about this infection stuff enough. That's a 4. That makes this a 5 in the circle, and that lets me colour all of these cells green. Actually, let's keep the red flashing in that one. They're all green, so that has to be, the green here has to be lower than the grey next to it. So this one is 2 or 4 or 3. This green has to be lower than that one. And this is 4, 7 or 9. So it can't be 4. That must be 7 or 9. This seems to be the only place for 4 in the box. I'm not going to say it's not the trigger. It could be. This is a 2, 3, 4 trio up here. And this digit must be 3 by Sudoku. Quite interesting. These are from 5, 6, 7, 9. These, I don't know, there's more digits. That can't be 9 or 5, actually. That is 6 or 7. And that's a pair with this. That gives me a 2, 4 pair in the column, and everything else is 1, 3 or 8. This one is an 8. Let's do Sudoku. This one is a 1, and this one is a 3. Ah, there we go. Don't know anything about the colours. Well, that 3 was green, and that's fine. It's less than this. Right. Now that can't be 8, so there's only one place for 8. And that digit now has to be 9, that's 1. We need a 9 in this box in one of these two cells. 9, 1, 3, 8. 2 and 4, that is a 2, 4 pair. And these are from 5, 6, 7. Oh, I mean, I feel like this is right, but it's still wildly complex. Oh, that's a 7, 9 pair, so that digit is 8. Oh, look, I could just have done the I-wing up that column. If that's 8, this isn't. And that was telling us that already. One of these two is a 6 in this row. And these are from 7, 8, 9 accordingly. That one can't be 9, this one can't be 8. Okay, now I'm going to have to do something with the infections and the triggers and the killers and goodness knows what. I'm going to have to start colouring the... I don't know how it goes. That 9 has infected. I mean, let's actually draw these infections in and how it's worked, because you never know, it might matter. That's infected 3, which infected 1. It's also infected 3 and 1 and 5 and 1 and 4 and 1. Yeah, you see, that is interesting. This 9 has infected 4 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 6. But then it stopped there. This 9 has infected 8 and 2, and 8 has infected 6. The trouble is I'm not drawing directional arrows. But this is still quite interesting. Now, what I was getting quite interested by here is what infected this 4? Well, the cell above did it. Unless this 4 itself is a trigger. But then it wouldn't have infected the 7 there. These would not be triggers. And how would they have got infected? I don't think that 4 can be a trigger. And therefore it was infected from here, and this is green. Now, whichever one of these is a 9 started this off and infected the 7 going up or down, and then that gradually infected these other cells. So that way round, I don't know which way round that line goes, but the rest of that all, okay, that shows how everything got infected. Now, how did this 4 get infected? Either it's the trigger or it got infected from here. Don't know. The 3 got infected from the 4, but also from the 6 or 7 here. This 8 could have been infected from a 9 above it. In fact, one of these two is a 9, so we're getting a bit closer to that situation. Got a horrible 2-4 deadly pattern here that's going to get resolved somehow by the rule in some bizarre way. It's me. Right, we got that trigger and that trigger. I was going to say, surely 1 can never be a trigger, but why not? It just wouldn't trigger everything around it, is the only problem that has. Or it wouldn't pop everything around it. I'm sorry, I cannot manage to use the right terminology as defined by the rule set. Oh, we're getting so close here. 50 minutes. I don't think I'm going to be finished in the hour because I just don't get it. Oh, I'm so dumb. I just don't get how to do the rest. This was a trigger cell. There wasn't a rule that every trigger cell triggers something. No, obviously not. It's kind of an exercise in backwards logic, isn't it? You're given the grid of everything that is infected, and you have to find out where the patient zeros were, where the infection points were. It's a bit like one of those chess problems that are how did this position arise rather than what do you do next, in that it's confusing the heck out of me. Is this the only place for 8 in the box? That is true. That's annoying. That's been available forever. Now, what else does that do? We've got no circles that will impinge on any of the white territory remaining. So I'm going to have to do this all by weird infection rules. Oh. Yeah, quite interesting. If the 4 wasn't the infection point, this would be the trigger here. But it would have to not trigger this cell. I find that a little interesting. If the 4 is not the trigger, this is the trigger and is 7 or 6, and this is 7 or 9. This would have to be the 6. For this to be the trigger, it would have to be the 6, and it would trigger the 4, which would, or it would pop the 4, which would pop the 3. And if that's not a 6, if this is part of a 7-9 pair, then this 4 is the trigger. And that would make this the trigger. And then we'd have a trigger in one of these cells. Now, there is a trigger in this column somewhere. And it can't be there or there. It has to be in one of these 4 cells, being green. if this was a 7, that 8 would have to be a trigger point. Otherwise, it would never get popped. So if that's a 7, this is a trigger. And that's a 9. And not a trigger. No, there's some elimination to do. That's not a 9. That's it. One candidate cell gets eliminated. One candidate in one cell. Ah, goodness me. 2, 4 pair. 5, 6, 7, 9 in the rest. How am I going to determine the colours? Oh, that 3 must infect this 1. I mean, that's so obvious suddenly. That 6 or 7 must infect this 1. That's probably not going to help anything, but still, at least I get to paint some numbers in. Now, if that was a trigger 4, this 6 or 7 has to be infected by something bigger next to it. By a 7 or 9. That would be a 7-9 pair, and that would be a 6, and this would be a 5. If this is a trigger here, which we've worked out it would be a 6, yeah, and I just don't know. I'm missing some blooming important relationship there between green and grey. There, that's where it is. This must be a 7. Otherwise, that would have got triggered. That's a 9, right? I mean, how can that tiny little thing be massive? I bet it is. This is now a 6-9 pair. That's a 7. This is a 6. Look at the Sudoku just getting done here. Oh, it's madness, isn't it? That's a 6-7 pair. That's a 5. That 7 is looking at that cell. Didn't look over here. I'm annoyed with myself, you can tell. I should be. Right, now, has this changed anything over here? What has it changed over here? That is not a 9. How does this 8 become green? Only by being the trigger. It can't be triggered by anything else. So that's a trigger. That means 9 is not a trigger here, and therefore not a green cell. That trigger is going to set off the 7 and the 2, not this necessarily. And let's draw the lines. 8 to 3, 8 to 2, 8 to 7 to 1. Right, how has the 6 become green? How has the 6 become green? It couldn't have been triggered from those cells. It is a trigger. And that's not. And the only way for this to be green, which it now must be, it must be the trigger. And yet for that to be grey is 9 and 6 there. There we go. And that means 9 up here. Now I'm left with 2 deadly patterns, a 6-7 deadly, 6-7 in the top rows, 2-4 in columns 2 and 3. Oh, this 6-7 pair's done. Now, that's a trigger. We were left with 1 trigger, and it's a 9, wouldn't you know? That's the last trigger, but now we're going to work out, oh no, there's 1 in this box. It's there. It's a 9 as well. Okay. Now the 6 is triggering the 4 and the 3, and the 4 is triggering the 1, 6 triggering 2. This 6 is triggering that cell. If that was a 2, that wouldn't carry on much, would it? This 9 is triggering that. This must be a triggering relationship. So those are green, a popping relationship. And that 3 below, definitely. Now, how is this 3 getting set off? Look, there is a way. 7, 6, 5, 4. No, it doesn't get to the 3 because you'll get interrupted by a 2 there. How is that 3 getting popped? I don't believe it can be popped. It can't be popped from the 1. I don't believe it can be popped from here because the only trigger up here is a 9. If it goes this way, that's 4 and that's 2, and that won't pop the 3. Even if it goes this way round, that's 4 and that's 2, and it won't pop the 3. That 3 has to be popped by a 4 below, and that sorts out one of the deadly patterns. And now we can carry on colouring or popping. 4 to 3 to 2, 4 to 3 to 1, 4 to 2, and also 9 to 3 to 2. And these have all gone green and been popped. These two I don't think are getting popped. They're grey. That 3 is popping the 2. That's green. Now, that's green. This is a trigger, but it's going to fail to pop that, which is grey. And it's got to be less than that because it's green not popping that. There's the, that shouldn't have been the final disambiguator. The 2, 4 should have been. That's a 6, so it's not going to pop this 7. And these 2 are grey, and that's a 7 in the corner. And that is the solution to Pop Goes the World. Please tell me I'm correct at this point. I may not have got all the popping links in. That just doesn't really matter. I've got enough in to demonstrate that all the green cells are popped. Right, that's a 7. There we go. That's an hour of fun. Everybody tell me you have heard Pop Goes the World. That's a song, is it? It is. I vaguely recognise that. But there we go. Fantastic stuff by Alchemist. Happy birthday to you. I hope you've had a good 30th of July. And I'll love to see every one of you again tomorrow. Do come back and join us for more Cracking the Cryptic variant Sudoku. Bye for now.